What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning into the Local Crown podcast, where we're going to teach you how to wage war on your competition and earn your local crown, also known as the top spot on Google. So, man, as a director, what are some simple things that entrepreneurs can implement into their videos so that maybe we look better on camera or are presented a little bit better?
Wow, that's a really good question. Well, first of all, everything has changed. There's not, most people are not going to be able to produce a feature film, which, you have a huge screen and you get a private audience for about 2 hours. Most everything that we're doing shows up on a device like this these days, right? So that has actually changed the way that we shoot things. I mean, I used to do a lot of long format documentary stuff that, would go to PBS or the Discovery Channel or types of channels like that, like National Geographic. But now the short form, I mean, if you got something that's over 2 or 3 minutes, the attention span isn't there. So we really have changed the way that we interact with people, and we've moved things closer. So right here is kind of the perfect shot for this kind of a device. You wouldn't see, this big wide shot with a guy that's this big in the corner, because we can't see that anymore on our little screen. So that's really changed a lot. The other thing that's super important that people need to know and remember, audio matters. And so if you're standing next to a street and you're trying to do something, if you don't have a lav on, or like some boom mic that you can use that's right here, or a microphone that's pretty close to you, man, it doesn't matter what your picture is if the audio is all screwed up, right? If the audio is important. So that's another piece that we say is that, man, pay attention to the audio. Now that everybody's doing Zoom, I mean, hey, we got a little broadcast going on here every day, right? So you got to pick what your background is. You got to pick what your environment looks like. You have to pick what you look like. I don't know if you're sitting in your backyard or if that's a background. I mean, that's a pretty good generic background, right? I was getting tired of stuff, and I'm like, dude, I'm a creative guy. I want to have cool offices when I go to work. So I created all these cool environments for me that really reflect who I am and what I do. Right now you're kind of in the room that houses all of our sports memorabilia. There's the shirt with Kaká and the soccer ball from the Brazilian national team. So yeah, there's things like that we got floating around that we're like, well, yeah, let's use that stuff and have fun with it.
How does that affect your productivity and stuff? Do you go to different rooms based on different moods to increase your productivity?
Ooh, well, obviously in my house, I have my own edit suite, and I have a little mini studio, if you will, that I can do stuff. But yeah, I am a person that, I know when creativity is being squashed. So I regularly rotate through a lot of different things that I know that I'm working on, and I'll get up and I'll walk away, or I'll go work out, or I'll go for a bike ride, or I'll just go see how everybody else in the house is doing. That's not usually the case unless we're in the lockdown, right? Now everybody's here. Everybody's on Zoom trying to finish their work. And, I got girls in school and different things like that. My wife's a teacher. So, yeah, you really have to kind of pay attention. But I think if you get into that mode of changing gears regularly, what happens is then you come back. It's like I said before, I actually think your sleep time is a great time to allow ideas to simmer, because while you're sleeping and you've kind of shut down, your brain is working on it, man, and it comes up with these solutions that you're like, shucks, I never would have thought of that. So yeah, those are some things, at least from a creative standpoint, that we utilize in our industry, and I teach for people to do differently.
Absolutely. How do you know when your creativity is being squashed?
I think when you feel like you bump up against a wall, in other words, you're working on something and it just stops. Well, guess what? It stopped for a reason, because either you're tired, you're out of ideas, you might need somebody else to kick into it, whatever it is, walk away. And as a matter of fact, as a writer, I have a couple of different writing teams that I've gathered for a bunch of different projects that I work on. And one of the things that as a writer, that we specifically do is if we're in the middle of something and we're typing away and we write it, we don't ever finish a thought. Because if we finish a thought, what's going to happen is we'll come back and we'll reread the thing and we'll look at it. And then that thought is finished and we're stuck again, right? We're like, oh my gosh, where was I going to go with that? Whereas if I stop in the middle of a sentence, it's going to force me to move into that next thing. So that's one of the techniques that we do. We storyboard a lot of stuff. I mean, if you looked around my office, you'd see whiteboards and like Post-it notes and just things all over to say, hey, this helps me remember something, right? So that I can get back to it. That's a regular way to foster creativity and action in the business world that you're trying to succeed in.
That's fascinating, man. So we've only got a couple minutes left. What's the best way for people to see more of you and maybe get involved with invisible disabilities?
Wow, how to see more of me. I tend to be behind the scenes a lot on purpose. You can always reach out to me. I mean, if you go to Invisible Disabilities contact page, it's probably me that's going to touch base with you eventually if you shoot a note. If you Google search me, you're going to find all kinds of stuff and ways to contact me. I have another nonprofit, a film company. I do a bunch of different things. So whereas you may not see me as much as you're talking about, you will hear from me because that's how we get other stuff done, right? A lot of times I'm serving others in that creative function, so it's putting somebody else forward. Although in my Super Bowl stuff, you do see me quite often because I'm the guy asking all the questions, right?
Awesome, man. So real quick, is there anything else that you want to leave our audience of entrepreneurs with?
Wow, the question we've been asking a lot of our folks on our show is, how do you get through the day? Because life is different right now. And so whereas you may have had a routine, it's still important to create a routine that allows for you to do your thing and to keep that creativity or business attitude going without it becoming stale. I mean, some people, I will have to say that there's introverts and there's extroverts, right? The introverts are actually thriving in this time because they get to do their work from a place that's safe and they feel comfortable. The extroverts are going nuts because they really need that interaction. And so one, I would say to determine what you are, go take one of those personality tests, Emergenetics or, the MMPI or the Myers-Briggs stuff, the Kersey, please understand me stuff, just to know who you are. Am I an introvert? Am I an extrovert? Where do I line up in this stuff? And start to read through and know more about yourself so that you can better thrive in the context of where we are and what we're dealing with today.
Wow, that's a very good thing to consider. Man, thank you so much for your time today. You brought so much value. Like, thank you. You dropped a lot of bombs.
Yeah, no worries, man. I actually want to turn this around sometime. Let me interview you, what you're doing, what's going on in your life. I'm sure you got some good stories here, right? That's round 2.
Absolutely. I'd love to, man. I'll get in touch with you about that.
Awesome. Thanks, Trey. Well, thanks for the invite and have a great day. Do your thing, man. Be creative.
Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you learned something. If you have questions, email us at info@thelocalcrown.com. And if you want to get featured in our publication, Inside the Empire, alongside John Lee Dumas, the entrepreneur on fire, Jayson Waller, the CEO of Power Home Solar, Sharon Lechter, Dan Caldwell, the man that started Tap Out, and the limitless man himself, Kwik, for free, then head over to thelocalcrown.com/become a contributor.